Don't get on the train. Go home. Stay in the closet. Don't question it. You'll understand later. Her fingers felt cold as she pressed my phone back into my hand. I nearly laughed at her. Instead, I stood still. My name is Alina Morzova. I'm 29 years old, a financial analyst, logical to a fault. I don't believe in signs, fortune tellers, or whispered warnings from strangers at train stations, especially not from an elderly woman wrapped in layers of scarves, that her sharp gaze cutting through me as if she already knew everything about me. I had been hurrying to catch the 6:40 train to see my fiancé Daniel. We were meant to finalize our wedding plans that evening. My life was stable, organized, secure, and yet I wasn't bored. I told myself it was curiosity, maybe instinct, maybe the way she spoke. Not dramatic, not theatrical, just urgent. So instead of going to Daniel's apartment, I returned to mine. At 7:12 p.m., I stood inside my bedroom closet, heart racing, feeling out of place among coats and shoe boxes. I almost stepped out. Then I heard my front door unlock, and Daniel's voice inside my apartment. I wasn't supposed to be there. Daniel had a key for emergencies. That's what he said when I gave it to him 2 years ago, back when things felt simple. Back when he kissed my forehead and called me his future wife, as if it meant something real, not calculated. Through the thin closet door, I heard him walk in with confidence. No hesitation, no calling my name. Then another sound. Heels. A woman's quiet laugh. My stomach tightened. For months, something had felt off. Daniel had become distant, protective of his phone, quick to criticize how I dressed, how I worked late, how I seemed less warm. He blamed it on wedding stress. I accepted that because that's what I do. I analyze risk in spreadsheets, but ignore it in relationships. I heard them move into the living room. The familiar creak of my couch sinking under weight, someone else's presence. Glass clinked. He had brought wine into my apartment for another woman. "I told you she'd be on that train," he said casually. Silence followed. Then her voice, slightly amused. "You're sure she suspects nothing?" He laughed, and in that moment, standing in the closet, I realized this wasn't just wrong. It was deliberate. My ears rang, but I stayed still. Deliberate. The word echoed louder than anything else. "She's predictable," Daniel said, and I could almost see the expression on his face. "She'd never question me. She thinks I'm just stressed about the wedding." The woman responded with a quiet approval. "And the apartment? I'll officially move in after the honeymoon. Once everything is signed, it's practically ours." Ours. The space around me felt tighter, the air thinner. Paperwork. I mentally reviewed the past month, Daniel pushing to simplify our finances, encouraging joint accounts, persuading me to move my savings into a shared investment fund he controlled. I hesitated at first, but he framed it as trust, as partnership, as love. "She has no idea what she signed," he continued, pouring more wine. "By the time she realizes, the money will already be transferred." Transferred. My entire life savings. The woman let out a soft laugh. "You're ruthless." "No," he replied. "I'm efficient." My hands shook, but my thinking became sharper. I wasn't heartbroken. Not yet. I was reviewing every document, every password, every point of access. They were planning to marry me, take everything I had, and then leave. And suddenly, the old woman's warning didn't feel strange. It felt precise, like a narrow escape. Then Daniel. At 4 minutes and 13 seconds, he said something that made my blood go cold. "After tomorrow, she won't be a problem anymore." He repeated it. "After tomorrow, she won't be a problem anymore." The words weren't emotional. They were practical, like rescheduling a meeting. The woman paused. "You're sure about the timing?" Daniel exhaled slowly. "She'll be on the 6:40. I told her to take it because traffic is unpredictable tonight. There's construction near the bridge." The bridge. My throat tightened. That train line had been in the news for weeks. Delayed maintenance, faulty signaling systems. Daniel had insisted I take it instead of driving. He had even checked the schedule for me. "You're not worried?" the woman asked. He gave a short laugh. "It's not like I'm forcing her. Accidents happen." Accidents. The air left my lungs. He wasn't just planning to take my money. He was setting up something more serious. A grieving fiancé, public sympathy, insurance claims, a clean narrative. I remembered signing the updated life insurance policy last month. He had described it as responsible before marriage. My knees nearly gave out. From the living room, glasses clinked again. "To new beginnings," the woman said. "To freedom," Daniel replied. Standing in the dark closet, surrounded by winter coats, something inside me didn't break. It became clear and focused. They believed I was predictable. They assumed I was already gone. They had no idea I was 10 feet away, listening, fully aware, and no longer emotionally attached. I didn't step out. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't confront them. I stayed where I was, breathing steadily, letting the shock pass until it turned into something controlled. Daniel believed I was on that train. He assumed I was hours away from either becoming a headline or being financially trapped. He had already moved forward, emotionally, strategically, and likely legally as well. That meant he was comfortable, and people who are comfortable tend to make mistakes. I waited until I heard the bedroom door open, my bedroom. Their footsteps followed, then the quiet shift of my mattress. I unlocked my phone, not to call the police, but to record. First audio, then video, through a small opening in the closet door, enough to capture their faces, voices, the whine, and their presence in my space. Evidence. I sent copies to a private cloud folder Daniel didn't know about. One he had once mocked me for maintaining. "You and your backups," he used to say. Yes, me and my backups. When I heard them move toward the shower, I slipped out quietly, barefoot, steady. I collected my laptop, external drive, passport, and the folder of signed documents from my desk. By the time they realized I had been home, I would already be in control of the situation. They believed tomorrow would erase me. They were wrong. Tomorrow would expose them. I didn't sleep that night. By 2:17 a.m., I was sitting in my car, 2 blocks away, my laptop glowing against the windshield as I rebuilt my life step by step. First, I logged into the joint investment portal. Daniel had access, but so did I. I paused briefly, then froze every transfer scheduled for the morning. After that, I triggered a compliance review flag, an anonymous tip citing suspicious activity and potential financial manipulation. As a financial analyst, I understood exactly which terms activate automatic audits: fraud, coercion, unauthorized beneficiary changes. Next, I emailed our lawyer. The subject line read, "Urgent, wedding postponed." No emotion, just attached documentation, timestamps, recorded audio, and copies of policy updates Daniel had pressured me to sign. At 6:35 a.m., I scheduled a meeting with the insurance provider and requested a beneficiary freeze pending investigation. Then I took another step, more calculated. At 6:39, I sent Daniel a message. Trains delayed. Thinking of coming home instead. The typing indicator appeared immediately. No, stay. It's fine. I'll meet you later. The urgency was clear. Panic is difficult to hide. At 10:05 a.m., I uploaded an edited version of the video, blurred where necessary for legal reasons, but clear enough to present the facts, to a private link. I sent it to one more person, Daniel's mother. The message read, "Ask your son about the 6:40 train." Then I turned off my phone and waited. When I turned it back on at 9:12 a.m., there were 37 missed calls, 22 from Daniel, 5 from his mother, 3 from our lawyer, and 1 voicemail I replayed twice. "Alina, what is this?" Daniel's voice was no longer composed or controlled. "Why is my mother calling me in tears? Why is the bank freezing the account? What did you do?" I didn't respond. I observed. By noon, the compliance department had officially suspended all transfers pending investigation. Daniel's account access was temporarily restricted. He attempted to log in 7 times. I could see each attempt in the activity log. Desperation leaves a trace. At 1:03 p.m., he listened. At 9 minutes and 48 seconds, he arrived at my apartment. This time, I was inside, no longer hiding. He knocked forcefully. "Alina, open the door. We need to talk." Need. The same word he had used when he needed my trust, my signature, my savings. I opened the door slowly. He looked pale and unprepared. The confidence was gone. "You misunderstood," he began quickly. "It was a joke. You know how people talk." I tilted my head slightly. "About accidents?" His mouth opened, then closed. "I didn't get on the train," I said calmly. For the first time since I had known him, Daniel looked uncertain. And in that moment, I understood something clearly. This was no longer just about money. It was about control, and he had just lost it. Daniel continued speaking. "When people panic, they often over-explain. You're overreacting. You always do this. You twist things, Alina. You only heard part of the conversation." "I heard enough," I replied evenly. He stepped closer. "You're destroying everything. The accounts, the wedding, my reputation. Your reputation. Not us, not the relationship, just damage control. I studied him for a moment. Tell me something. If I had taken that train and something happened, would you have cried at my funeral? He didn't answer right away. That silence gave me all the clarity I needed. His phone buzzed. He looked down, and I watched the color leave his face. The compliance review had escalated. The insurance provider had flagged the beneficiary changes as potentially coerced. Our lawyer had officially withdrawn representation pending investigation. Then he looked at me, not with anger, but with realization. You sent it to my mother, he said quietly. Yes. She thinks I tried to? You did. The truth stood between us, clear and irreversible. He left without slamming the door, without another argument, and without composure. 2 days later, I learned something else. The 6:40 train never crashed, but it was delayed for hours due to a signaling issue near the bridge, an accident waiting to happen. I never saw the old woman again. Sometimes when I stand at that station, I wonder, was she warning me about the train or about the man I almost married? Either way, I chose to listen.